Hey everybody, it's Al from ZZP, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 mods for your LSJ powered vehicle. One of the things I'm going to do with this video is assume that you're going to be keeping the car supercharged. People that know me know that I'm a huge turbo fan just because of the extreme power that you can make, but the majority of our customers are keeping their car supercharged. So this type of video I want to tailor to something that's going to help the most people. The number one thing you need to do with your supercharged LSJ is fix your intercooler pump. If you haven't checked it in the past year, it's dead. I can pretty much guarantee it. Even a good stock one is only going to last about 50, 60,000. There's some oddballs that make it to 100 or so, but it's going to be dead. Other thing you have to look out for is on the 04 red line and some of the 05s, they were wired backwards from the factory. And there's a black wire and a black with a white stripe. Your black wire is actually your power. I don't know why, it's just the way they did it. So on the 04 and some of the 05s, that needs to be switched. You can use a multimeter to check which one's your hot lead and get everything hooked up correctly. But I put this as the number one mod because this is the number one issue that we deal with when people show up for tuning appointments or dyno tunes. A lot of the time the intercooler pump's dead. It's a brush style motor. Sometimes you can whack it with a hammer, get it to last enough to make it through the dyno pole. But it would save us a lot of time if everyone just fixes their intercooler pump. Next on the list is your cooling mods. These mods on an otherwise stock car aren't going to gain you a ton of power, but they set you up for making a lot more power down the road. So a dual pass end plate and an option B kit. The dual pass end plate restructures the way that the coolant flows through the intake manifold, and it allows the coldest intercooler coolant to flow through 2 cores instead of just 1. Whereas your stock system, there's 4 cores and it zigzags through. With the dual pass, you feed in the 2 middle ones and then it goes out the top 2. And this will make a really big reduction in how much your intake temps climb during a power pull. Option B kit just helps to make sure that the air always stays out of the system. It's pretty much a sealed system, but they always get bubbles worked into them. It could be something as simple as a little bit of boost leaking past the O-rings. You're always going to get bubbles in the system, and you need a way to keep those bled out. Number 3, in my opinion, is going to be your exhaust mods. Again, kind of like the cooling mods, these aren't going to gain you a ton of power themselves, but they set you up for making a lot more power down the road. The first thing I would do is your downpipe. The stock downpipe has a big flat spot in it where the O2 sensor goes in. And the next most restrictive point would be the over the axle section. You can take care of both of these with a stock replacement downpipe and a 2.5-inch catback. Almost all supercharged cars, I highly recommend you stay with the 2.5-inch and not a 3. People want the 3 because everyone thinks bigger is better, but the reality is that our 2.5-inch catback has a complete flow-through resonator and the muffler is straight through as well. And I have not seen anyone to the point that I thought, oh yeah, you need to go to a 3-inch to make more power. The other advantage is the 2.5 sounds way better than the 3-inch. Adding that extra diameter just makes everything real boomy and drony when you're on the highway. So stick with the 2.5, unless you don't want to listen, because then you'll just buy the 2.5 down the road when you can't stand it anymore. Your number 4 step would be a stage 3 kit. Well, for a gas car, you're going to want to stick with the 60-pound injectors, E85, 80-pound injectors. And this is a good time to include a cold air intake as well. The power gains are pretty good on the Cobalt. On the red line, the stock intake flows really, really well, but you will gain a huge amount of supercharger whine out of the intake, and everybody loves that sound. Putting your cooling mods and your exhaust mods before doing the stage 3 kit kind of helps you set up for what pulley size you're going to select. You want to size your pulley to keep your boost at a usable level. These Roots type superchargers don't like pushing high amounts of boost, they like pushing a high amount of air flow. So the more you can do to reduce the boost pressure for a given pulley size, the more power you're going to make. That's where the exhaust mods really come in. You really want to stay around 15 or less pounds of boost, maybe up to about 17. That's my opinion, that's what I've seen to work the most efficiently. Because when your boost gets too high, you don't really pick up much power, partly because your intake temps climb so much and you have to pull the timing out to keep the tune safe. And you might not guess right on the first time you grab a pulley. It may be too high, it may be too low. That's one of the real handy things about the modular pulley system, is then you can just buy the right size, slap it on, sell your other pulley or throw it on the shelf, whatever you'd like to do. That's gonna get you to a basic full bolt-on stage 3 level. On pump gas, you're gonna be making anywhere from like the 260 to 280 range on most cars. That's a pretty big range, but these cars vary a lot. They're not a newer car anymore, so you don't know how well yours has been maintained by the previous owner or what other small issues you might have going on. So there's going to be a pretty good range in the power level your car makes. Not to mention all the different dynos you could use, because every dyno reads differently. On the E85 level, then you're going to be more into like the 280 to even knocking into the 300 range. 300 horsepower M62 cars are not very common, but there's several of them out there, and it can be done if you have a healthy engine. Also, this sets you up for doing a TVS if that's something you'd like to do. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of those. I think the cost to benefit ratio is much higher to go to something like our entry-level turbo kit or even the full swap turbo kit. If you look at the power curves of like the KO4 entry-level kit, it won't make quite the peak numbers that a TVS car could do, but your average power is going to be way higher. Your torque is way higher. If you take, say, a 330 horse KO4 LSJ and a 360 horse TVS car, the KO4 is going to completely leave it in the dust in a roll race. Once you've done all of that to your supercharged car, the last thing you can do to get the last bit of power squeezed out of it is things that will help even more flow and help you get the RPM out of it, like valve springs, upgraded camshafts. Even if you wanted to go to the neutral balance shafts and ATI, the more you can do to get the flow going and get your RPM up is going to help you extend your power band out. The highest horsepower supercharged cars are always revving to 8 grand or higher. It's just a matter of getting the air in and making the most use out of it. That pretty much wraps it up. If you guys have any other questions about the specific mods that I listed off, feel free to shoot me a message or email. It's alan.m@ZZPerformance.com. Or you can just email our customer service and they'll be glad to point you in the right direction. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you'll find a lot of interesting videos and also some tech tips that I've done. I plan on doing more of those in the future, and so if you have suggestions for tech videos that I could do that are in like the 5-minute range, let us know and we'll be glad to look into doing those for you.